Back with the Like I Was Saying podcast, just going over again another Spurs win tonight, or as I should say last night. That really it was a good overall team win. Just here talking about, going to talk about that just briefly. I know it's late here in, Central Time, USA. It is a little late, but just very excited that, the Spurs are playing good basketball. And I know I had mentioned in the last podcast that I would be talking about the Spurs, more often, and I would be talking and reacting to their wins, some of their losses. I'll also be throwing in some hockey in there as well, but just very, very excited. Coming off of this weekend, of course, the Dallas Cowboys come back from a 21-point deficit to beat the rival Eagles, and, Dak Prescott continues his, NFC East dominance at home. And, yeah, just the Dallas Stars playing well as well. And those who know me personally, those are my, two teams along with the Spurs and the Astros. But, baseball's over, so there's nothing going on there. But uh, just trying to focus these episodes on the Spurs and their wins and how they've been playing, and just really, really excited, for this season, excited for how they're playing, hoping that Wemby can come back soon. But let me just start off with, tonight they play Portland. It's a group game for the, the cup, the midseason cup that the NBA hosts. And, Portland played well. I really like, Denny Avdia coming from the Wizards. He spent 4 years there, and then he comes to Portland, and his offensive game just surges. I mean, tonight he looked great, shot the ball really well, facilitated the ball really well. Got to the basket, got fouled. Very, very crafty, athletic. Good looking small forward in the league. And, kudos to him. I know in Washington, with Bradley Beal still there and a couple of other guys, he never really got his chance to be, one of the go-to guys or top scorers. And here in Portland, I mean, he's looking, to be honest, he's looking like an all-star. And just kudos to him. But just, tonight it was all about the Spurs. I know that one of their things sometimes is they have a lead goes into the fourth quarter, and or in the third quarter, they have a good, 5 to 10 point lead. Sometimes it's even, over 10 points. It goes into the fourth quarter, and they end up losing that lead a little bit, and then they'll come back and they'll win. And where we saw that, that didn't work, it was against the Warriors. Those two games back to back at home where they had, big leads, and um, and all of a sudden it just didn't, go their way. They turned the ball over a lot. They took bad shots, got out in transition, and they just, you know, slowly but surely lost their lead. The other teams, which in that instance was the Warriors, just chip away and chip away and chip away, and they end up losing games like that. I know that against Phoenix as well. This past game, they lost also, and that was kind of the same thing. Tonight, it was a different story. They kind of did have a lead for a while. They lost it. It was kind of back and forth. They took the lead again at halftime, and then in the second half, the Spurs kind of really asserted, you know, their ball movement, their dominance, and they won. They ended up winning by 13 points, and I honestly think it was a good performance. It was a good game. If they win now, which would be tomorrow night or Friday, with at 8:30 against the Nuggets, they win their group. So that would be a good thing, for the Spurs. I feel like the Spurs are gonna have to be like the the Thunder in terms of getting to the playoffs a few times. Having good series, maybe winning a series or two, losing some, having some heartbreak before, kind of like the Thunder, winning it all, and being able to bring another championship to San Antonio. I think that that's going to be important, but I think that having these big, games for this cup mid-season, I think it was a great decision by the NBA to have that, and it was a great decision by the NBA to bring that to the regular season, just because you kind of bring a playoff atmosphere into games that otherwise, they're important, of course, they're important regular season games, but you bring a playoff atmosphere to, the early to middle part of the season, so that, ratings can go up in intensity, and playing for a prize pool of money and for a trophy and a banner and stuff like that. And then also, of course, you have the playoffs and stuff like that. That's something that's really, really cool that the NBA has done. And Adam Silver with that idea. It's worked so far. I really think that it's been something that has worked and something that I think is good. And I just think that the NBA is in a good place right now. There's been years where it's begun to get boring and kind of monotonous in terms of like the play and just same people scoring all the time, same people doing the same thing, and just glad, as I mentioned in the last podcast, that my Spurs are doing well. They're doing better. They're playing better. And tonight was a return of Dylan Harper. Tonight it was seeing him fill in that role that Castles played has been great. He was able to get to the basket. Love the way he sees the floor, plays a passing lane, plays defense, shoots the ball, gets to the basket. I think Dylan Harper is going to be a future All Star. I'm very very excited for that. Just hoping and praying that he stays healthy along with Wemby and Castle. I'm hoping they come back. But tonight it looked really really good tonight. Was very proud of how the Spurs played. I love the way Vassell played tonight. There's been a lot of question marks about him and his defense, and a lot of people on all the different Spurs pages that I'm on, that would be on Facebook, on Instagram, Twitter, Reddit. A lot of people just come up and say like, hey, I don't think he's going to be a Spur much longer. He doesn't play defense. He's makes too much money to just kind of be the fifth or sixth option out there and stuff like that. And tonight, I mean, he shot the ball lights out, and that's what you kind of need nowadays in the league. You need somebody that's a sniper from the outside. Him and Champagny, being able to shoot the ball the way that they do, along with Mr. 100% Harrison Barnes. It goes well. But Devin Vassell looked really, really good tonight. Um, De'Aaron Fox can't even begin to tell you how good he looked. Having him in a high screening role with Luke Cornett and with Kelly Olynyk and all the bigs that played, even Keldon Johnson, setting screens for him. De'Aaron Fox, when he gets to that mid range game, you're pretty much done for in terms of your defense is already broken down, and if he gets any space, he's gonna shoot from the top of the key, and that shot's gonna go in 90% of the time. And tonight, I think he only missed a few from that spot. He attacks the basket. He shoots the ball really, really well from three. Floor general that, I'm hoping when Wemby comes back, they can be that duo that, well, I say duo, but there's really, it's a trio, or it could even be, four at a time that are just leading the Spurs to the playoffs and, being top scorers and top options for years to come. And signing him to that extension, hoping Wemby gets his extension soon. That's something that I'm hoping for. But tonight, Fox looked great. Spurs played good defense. There were a lot of times, where they would get caught chasing. They would get backed up a little bit, and that's where problems would be. Um, just think that tonight was a win that's gonna it was against a decent Portland team, but it's a win that's gonna propel them into playing a real contender on Friday, which is the Nuggets. Um, Excited for that game. Definitely gonna watch, see how the Spurs play without Wemby and Castle, which has been for a while now, and see how they match up with Jokic and the Nuggets, who are, as we mentioned, they won a title recently. They're real contenders. Um, yeah, just tonight overall, good defensive performance. Would like to see more, as I've said always, from Sohan. He didn't get his extension in the offseason. Feel like he needs to prove himself more offensively. Defensively, he's okay. He rebounds well. He moves the ball well. When he has the ball, he's um, I don't know how to explain him. He's one of my favorite Spurs, obviously, but don't know how to explain him in terms of, sometimes he's too assertive and shots aren't, falling, or sometimes he's too timid. And he kind of just needs to, fill in that slot that's set for him in terms of, being a knockdown shooter when he has to, because obviously he's not the number one option you want shooting threes, but he can make them, and he's proven it. So just seeing how he can be, a knockdown shooter when he needs to. He kind of reminds me of Kyle Anderson back in the days with the Spurs, several years back. Somebody that, when he needed to take a shot, you're just hoping that he would make it. Good defender, could dribble the ball, tall, plays at a certain pace. And like I said, I'm just hoping that that's somebody that he can, um, I guess, kind of replicate as a Spur, because, those great Spurs teams of the past that were in the playoffs that would, easily win 1 to 2 series of playoff. They had guys like that, the guys that could rebound, tall guys that could play, that could pass, that could shoot, that could score the basketball, and I'm hoping that that's somebody that he can either replicate, and somebody that he can be like. Looking at also at guys like Lindy Waters, that can come in and shoot the ball. Um, Keldon Johnson has played great. I'm hoping that there's talks of him being in the running for sixth man of the year, because he's been playing like a sixth man of the year. Um, and just really hoping that no matter what, the Spurs do what they need to do, and get where they need to be, so that way, um, they can be in the playoffs for the first time in a long time. And, maybe they have a chance at winning this cup. Who knows? Let's see how they play when Wemby comes back. Let's see how they play when Castle comes back. See how the lineup shakes up a little bit. David Jones Garcia, he's another guy that plays really, really well coming off the bench. See if he stays in the rotation when these players come back. But overall, tonight it was a great team win. And I think that, the Spurs can carry this momentum moving forward. And I'm very, very excited for, Friday's game, and excited to see how, that game plays out. Because if they win their group, then I think that, they can easily steal a couple of games and maybe get to the final for that cup, and, carry that momentum and them winning, meaningful games into the playoffs. So that way, when they play in the playoffs, they, have that experience of playing games that are close, and games that are tied, and you know how to make the right decisions. Rely on their veterans, Harrison Barnes, um, guys that have been in the playoffs. And it's kind of funny that I say that, because there's, Luke Cornett's been in a deep playoff run. Kelly Olynyk has been in a deep playoff run, and Harrison Barnes. But other than that, there really isn't anybody else on the Spurs that has been. De'Aaron Fox has made the playoffs, and so has Keldon, but they really didn't win any series or make any noise. So this will be a first long playoff run, or start of several years of long playoff runs for the Spurs. But a win like tonight is a win that you're supposed to get against a team, a Portland team that you're better than even without your best players. So um, you know good on the Spurs that they did that. And yeah, hopefully we have another reaction video on Friday when they win. So thank you everybody for tuning in. I know I had 10 viewers, a couple of people that have chatted, on the bottom, so I'll say hello back. And I'll see you next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you.